Welcome back to Revenue RX, the podcast at the intersection of pharmacy and finance. In today's episode, we're talking about prior authorizations and how they can make or break your revenue stream. Prior authorizations are one of the first financial touchpoints in the pharmacy revenue cycle. Hopefully, before a medication is ever dispensed, before a charge is captured, and before the claim is submitted. The prior authorization determines whether you will get paid. And yet, it is often treated like an administrative task instead of what it really is, a revenue protection strategy. If prior authorizations are done well, they create a clear path to reimbursement. If done poorly, they lead to denials, delays, write-offs, and frustration for everyone involved, ultimately impacting patients. A 2024 survey published by the American Medical Association found that over 93% of physicians reported that prior authorizations caused delays in patient care, and 29% reported that prior authorizations led to serious adverse events such as hospitalization or disease progression. This tells you how important it truly is to get prior authorizations done correctly the first time around. I like to think of prior authorizations as the art of storytelling. Each submission is a narrative to the payer. You're translating the clinical picture into a compelling case for medical necessity. You're aligning that story with the payer's coverage criteria. What you're doing is you're positioning the therapy for approval and reimbursement, and you're making the case for the patient. If that story is incomplete, inconsistent, or delayed, the claim is at risk. Now, to really understand why prior authorizations are critical, you have to understand how different reimbursement works depending on the benefit. On the pharmacy benefit side, adjudication is real time. A prescription is processed, the claim is submitted electronically, and within seconds, you know if it is approved, rejected, or requires a prior authorization. There is immediate feedback, immediate visibility, and an immediate opportunity to correct any prior authorization issues. But on the medical benefits side, which is where most high-cost infusions and provider-administered drugs live, adjudication is delayed. There is no real-time approval at the point of care. You administer the drug, submit the claim, and then you wait. Days, weeks, and sometimes even months. If a prior authorization was not done correctly, you do not find out until the claim is denied. At that point, the therapy has already been given, the cost has already been incurred, and the organization is now trying to recover revenue instead of protecting it. So in summary, pharmacy benefits is real-time adjudication, medical benefits is delayed adjudication. Let's take a step back and define four terms that are often used interchangeably but are not the same: prior authorization, pre-certification, benefits investigation, and predetermination. At its core, benefits investigation answers a simple question. What coverage or benefits does a patient have? This is where you determine, does the patient have active coverage? Are they eligible to be seen at a specific site of care? Is the drug going to be billed under a medical benefit or pharmacy benefit? Do they have pharmacy benefits? What's the patient's financial responsibility? And is there a prior authorization required? Prior authorizations, which are also referred to as pre-certification, answers, will the payer approve this specific therapy at this specific dose for this specific patient? It is a payer-required process completed before a service or medication is delivered. You are required to submit clinical documentation to demonstrate medical necessity and confirm that the therapy meets coverage criteria. Predetermination answers not will this therapy be approved, but how likely is it to be covered? Predetermination is an optional request submitted to the payer before a service is performed. It asks the payer to review the proposed therapy and provide guidance on whether it would be covered under the patient's specific plan. It may include clinical information, coding, and billing details, but it is not the same as a prior authorization. It is not required. Prior authorization is the formal approval process that is required by the payer. Predetermination is a coverage opinion that helps you reduce financial risk. Here's the simplest way to think about it. Benefits investigation is the discovery phase. Predetermination asks how likely will this treatment be covered. Pre-certification or prior authorization is the approval process. However, it is not a guarantee for payment. So where do organizations commonly go wrong? It starts with timing. Life is all about timing, and so are prior authorizations. Too often, prior authorizations are reactive instead of proactive. Teams are scrambling to contact the payer after a prescription is written, sometimes even after the patient has already arrived for therapy. But high-cost medications require early planning. When prior authorizations are not initiated early, everything downstream is impacted. Scheduling is delayed, inventory may be ordered without financial clearance, and the patients experience unnecessary wait times. Another place organizations struggle is with documentation. Prior authorization is only as strong as the clinical documentation behind it. Incomplete or generic submissions are one of the most common failure points. Templates that are not tailored to payer requirements, missing lab values, missing trial and failure history, or unclear dosing rationale can all result in documentation failure. These may seem like small operational gaps, but to a payer, they are red flags. If you're not speaking the payer's language, denials are not just possible, they're expected. There is also confusion around benefit pathways. Failing to distinguish between medical and pharmacy benefits can create unnecessary delays or denials. Submitting under the wrong benefit introduces rework, slows access, and puts reimbursement at risk. And even when the correct benefit is identified, site of care restrictions can still impact access and reimbursement. Site of care restrictions are when payers require therapies to be administered in a specific setting, such as an outpatient infusion center, home infusion, or specialty pharmacy. If site of care is not validated upfront, organizations may schedule treatment in a non-approved setting, leading to denials, rescheduling, and patient disruption. And then there's ownership. Who owns the prior authorization? Is it the clinic? Is it pharmacy? Is it a centralized team? Is it revenue cycle? When ownership is unclear, accountability is unclear. And when accountability is unclear, things fall through the cracks. This is where high-performing organizations differentiate themselves. They move towards centralized prior authorization models, often leveraging pharmacy technicians and medication access teams. These teams are not just processing requests. They are building expertise in payer policies. They're standardizing workflows, and they're creating consistency across service lines. Prior authorizations are not just about getting an approval. It's about getting the right approval the first time. When prior authorizations are done well, you see fewer denials, faster time to treatment, reduced rework, and improved cash flow. But when done poorly, consequences compound quickly. Denials lead to appeals. Appeals require labor. Labor increases costs. And delays impact both patient care and revenue realization. In high-cost therapies, A single missed or delayed prior authorization can put tens of thousands or even millions of dollars at risk. Prior authorizations aren't new. I remember when I was a young teenager working in a clinical office, we had to submit prior authorizations using a fax machine. What's new in prior authorizations is how artificial intelligence is reshaping the prior authorization workflows. AI can now extract clinical documentation from the chart, auto-populate prior authorization forms, and even predict approval likelihood based on historical payer behavior. On the payer side, AI is being used to automate reviews and accelerate decisions. Early data suggests that this can reduce turnaround times and administrative burden. However, AI does not fix the broken processes. If your documentation is inconsistent, AI will amplify that inconsistency. If your workflows are fragmented, AI will scale the fragmentation. While AI is an accelerator, it is not a solution on its own. Organizations that will succeed are the ones that standardize their workflows first. At the end of the day, prior authorization is not just about getting approvals. It's about building a system that makes approvals predictable, standardized workflows, and minimizes denials. Most importantly, where revenue is protected before care is delivered. Healing patients is the mission. Protecting the margin is the strategy. This is Revenue RX. Before we wrap up, a quick disclaimer. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. The views shared are my own and do not represent any organization I am affiliated with. This is not legal, financial, or reimbursement advice, and you should consult your own internal experts before making any decisions.